Tape Deck Media.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Did you have any shows this last weekend?
Let's see. No. I had this weekend off, which was one of my New Year's resolutions is to take one day a week off and actually
very
enjoy,
nice.
living. And I've been able to say no to some stuff, and I'm really proud of myself for that.
That's
So,
a real good place to be in when you can say no to stuff. All right.
yeah.
I'm a big fan of being able to say no.
Yeah, every now and then it's more healing and strengthening to like sweep your living room than it is to keep rushing around and doing stuff. So I feel like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had the weekend off as well. The week
good.
before, I was like, I swear to... Can you hear the train? Did you
I
hear
didn't
that?
hear the train.
I swear every time that I go to record, a train comes through and they blast that horn on and on and on and on.
That's funny.
Yeah, always heckled by a train. I moved into this apartment almost 2 years ago, after living in this town for 2 years. Had no idea how many trains came through here until I moved into this apartment.
Yeah.
And now it's like all day trains.
Oh my
Trains. Now that's kind of in the distance. But yeah, I would say, yeah, I had the weekend off as well, because the week before, I did a bunch of shows, like, right at the very beginning of the new year, and it was just like, go, 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 go. So it was nice to have a weekend off.
Yeah. Yeah, good.
It felt like I'd been going since Thanksgiving with the holidays and everything.
Yeah, it's not a restful time, but I feel like nature and our own bodies are like, hey, you should hibernate. And then the rest of the world is like, by the way, we need you to drive 4 hours and then drive 2 hours here. And then, oh, you need to buy some presents. And then you need to hang out with people you only see once a year. And you need to be under a lot of stress. And oh, you're going to be doing all of this just on sugar. You're not
Yep.
getting any other nutrition.
Sugar and caffeine.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, and
So,
it snowed here this weekend too, which
you
was
got snow. Oh.
yeah, just a little, just enough to like look out the window, and it was like, oh, what a dream! I'm sipping tea and watching the snow, and like not having to go anywhere. And it was, I guess I'm getting older or starting to appreciate small things or something. But it was such a gift to be able to just be there and not
Hmm.
have to go anywhere and perform and like send
Breathe.
empathy out. Yeah. I
Yeah.
could just like sit there with my own energy and just be like, oh, I don't have to make anybody feel a certain way. So,
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling. And where are you based again?
so I live in Blacksburg, Virginia, which is in Southwest Virginia. It's a college town, and it's close to the closest city is Roanoke, Virginia, which is also like barely big enough to be called a city.
Hmm.
So it's pretty rural. Um, but it's full of intelligent people from all over the world.
Oh, I
It's a
imagine if you
college
have a
town.
college there, yeah, college town.
Mhm.
Is this where you started comedy?
It is where I started comedy. Yeah, I actually started with the comedy conglomerate at Virginia Tech, which is a student-based organization. And at the time, it was really kind of the only thing going on. Um, and they had a show every other week, and I used to just go and watch them. And then I started to know the students and would give them notes, which I didn't know that that's what it was called at the time, but I would give them notes like, hey, this does make sense. Or even if, since, even though I'm not in college now, I know what dorm life is like. So you can skip over that explanation, just stuff like that. And then the president was like, Catherine, you can join us, right? Like you can come to a meeting. And I thought that would be so fascinating to see what the behind the scenes are because they do a weekly workshopping group. And so I went, and it was just fun. And I feel like I had things to add. And then they encouraged me to get up on stage, and then I did. And then I have never gone more than 2 weeks without getting on stage since. I loved it.
Oh wow! And how long now have you been doing comedy? How long ago was
Um,
that?
about 4 years. So I'm still
Very
super
nice.
new to it. Especially at the pace we go in such a rural area. I would say,
Mm-hmm.
like if I lived in Charlotte or Richmond or DC, I feel like maybe I'm in 2 years into it. Like the timeline is
Yeah.
slower, everything's
Yeah.
slower paced, but also the bar to entry is so low because there's so few people doing it.
Yeah, I imagine. I don't imagine. I know this for a fact from living in a rural area at one. When I started comedy and just kind of moving back and forth, is that when because there are so few comedians, it's a lot easier to get some of the work, especially the corporate
Oh,
type stuff, and
yeah.
not a lot of competition. It has its benefits.
Oh, there's not. And once people know who you are, that you just kind of become their go-to.
Yep, yep. Especially if you're funny and everything.
Well, I'm still working on that part.
Well, aren't we all? We all are. We all are. So what? I mean, what inspired you then to pursue stand up? I mean, you said you were going to those shows and that they were putting on, but I mean, obviously you had to be somewhat interested in stand up if you're like, oh, I can go do
Oh,
this.
well, I had, hmm, I feel like I'm kind of rare because I'm not one of those little boys. Wasn't when I was a little boy, I didn't daydream about becoming a stand-up comedian, which most of my comedy friends, when they were little boys, dreamed of it. But when I was a little girl, I definitely liked being silly. I definitely have a strange perspective on the world, which is not always appreciated. And I found in stand-up it is to be able to see things in a weird way. And I was like, oh, finally, this place where I can like say the weird stuff and get the reaction, an appropriate reaction. But also, I had a background in so many different things. I used to be a belly dancer, so I know about holding your body in a certain way so you look like you're confident. And so that was fun to bring to the table. I have a little bit of theater. I've got a little bit of public speaking. And so it was just fun to kind of bring all that together. And also it was post-pandemic where everybody was reinventing themselves. I just gotten out of a long relationship and was living on my own and like didn't have anything to do and didn't know what there wasn't any everything was being reborn after the
Hmm.
lockdown. And so I just kind of stumbled into doing stand up, and it was so fun, and I loved workshopping, and I loved the people I was meeting in it. And then I feel like I just got hooked up to this chariot of a couple people who were like, we're going to the moon, let's go. And
You're like, hold
I'm like,
on.
they're like, we're gonna do a show every week, and I was like, uh, okay. And with my day job, I have a lot of time where I'm working with my hands, but um, I can't listen to podcasts or anything, so I'm just in my own head. And
Oh,
going
okay.
through a
Yep.
breakup, I was, I don't know if you've ever been in going through a breakup, but
Oh, I've been through plenty.
yeah, feel like I'm pretty normal on the ruminating. And so suddenly I had this new project to think about. So in my mind, I was writing jokes. I was going through funny things that had happened to me and trying to figure out like how can I tell this on stage? And the pressure to be on stage every week was like, well, I got to come up to every week to the same people, which is also the thing about working in rural. Is the same audience members over and over and over again. There's
Oh,
no
yeah. Yep.
influx. So they don't want to hear me work out the same story over and over, the same jokes. They want to hear new entertainment. And so I was always coming up with new stuff, and it made my mind completely refocus from ruminating on the breakup and all that stuff to like, okay, well, what's funny in my life? How can I tell this in a way that's going to make people laugh? how how can I get ready for this? I got 10 minutes of stage time. How can I talk about these chipmunks invading my basement in a way that will make people laugh on Thursday? and so it was real
Yep.
nice redirect. So I feel like it was more like healing. It just came into my life at the right time
Hmm.
to benefit me, but also it just felt really good to go out and like be with people and make people laugh, especially after being in lockdown for so long.
Yeah,
It's just
and comedy's a great way for that, especially like the building community.
oh
We're it's funny because we're kind of a small community, but we're also a big community. I mean, there's
yeah,
comedians everywhere, but like we're
yeah.
such a tight knit group that like even if you go to another place, usually people, other comics are just like, "Oh, you're a comic," and scoop you right up.
Yeah, and there's that's why I enjoy going to the festivals so much. I mean, I met you. We didn't have to talk a lot about the basics. We immediately can
Yep.
start talking about like, well, what audio equipment do you use? How do you walk up on stage? Do you have a good walk-up song? How did you pick yours? Hey, I've got this joke and it doesn't quite work, but your style and my style are the same. What would you do here? And like you immediately have that
Yep.
yeah,
It's
I
like
hate to
the
use
like a
gendered. It's a
bond.
brotherhood. I don't
Yeah,
know.
brotherhood. Yeah, that's a great way
It's
to
a
describe it too.
peoplehood.
Yeah. Peoplehood, yeah, it's a bond. I mean,
A bond,
it's a
yeah.
good, it's a bond for sure. Because that comedy and people who don't do comedy don't they see live comedy or see it on TV whatever, and they just see what it is telling jokes and making people laugh.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to it. It's kind of a lifestyle, and
Yes.
only other people that are actually in comedy or in similar arts can
Yeah.
find you find that
And the idea of the persona and like
mm-hmm.
and one thing that's interesting in stand up versus like theater is you aren't taking a persona that someone else created. You're taking a persona that's very, very close to who you actually are.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit of tweak. It's like the most extroverted parts of yourself are up on stage. That's not your whole self, but
Yep.
that's a big part of it. And other comics get that. And I feel like there's just a little bit of like relaxation that occurs around other comics because you suddenly don't have to be that persona off stage.
Yep.
Um,
No, that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
yeah.
I know. I know. It's kind of a weird thing to say, and not trying. Sometimes it sounds mean, but it's like sometimes it's just easier to hang out with comedians than people who don't do comedy because of
Yeah.
that. Because
Well,
even people that don't do comedy, when they know you're a comedian, they have like this expectation that, oh, you're a comedian, you're gonna either be funny or this or that or whatever. And when you're with other comics, it's organic. Sure, we're all
yeah.
being funny, but we don't expect it. We're just
Yeah.
being who we are.
Well, and honestly, as a comedian, sometimes when I'm out and about in the real world, that means that I'm quiet and observing because I'm trying to see what other people are saying, what other people are thinking, what's going on in the world right now, what just naturally funny things are happening. I'm in my own head all the time. I know what's funny in there, but like I want to see what
Mm-hmm.
this conversation is, what are the normal people talking about so I can, relate to them later while I'm on stage. And I don't want to be the center of attention at a dinner party because I'm getting material. Don't
That's funny because
now nobody's going to invite me
I
anywhere.
know, right? Well, secrets out. All of us many comedians feel the same way because I do the same thing. It's so funny how often people when I'm hanging out, they're like, "I would have thought you would have been more funny or more, talkative or whatever." And it's like, well, I'm just observing because this stuff is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm taking this all in because yeah, I'm taking notes. Is what's happening right now. Well, that's great. Well, let's talk about what this podcast is about, and that's bombing. We've all been there. Go ahead, please share your story of a time where you
Oh
bombed.
my gosh. I I struggled with this because I was like, what? I've bombed. I've bombed so many times. But what's a good story? And I wrote to my best friend, my best comedy buddy, and he was he told me, he reminded me of this happening. And it's a little bit unique to our scene. Because like I said, we're in a rural scene. At the
So, real quick before you get into your story, just for reference for people listening, I mean, I know they understand what rural means, but the town that you're in, what's the population roughly?
oh gosh. I think with the students it's like 30,000 and without the students it's barely anything.
Okay, yeah. So
Uh
that, yeah, okay. Well, that's good. It's a good reference point.
yeah. And the so this happened post pandemic. I was just getting into comedy and there was a very small handful of people, like two or three people who had done comedy before the pandemic who were trying to revive it back into like actual live comedy. They'd done Zoom comedy and stuff like that and they were like, "Oh yay, we can be at the bars again." And so one
I
of them
remember that
was a
feeling.
right. See, you were there in the
I
before
was there. I was in the before times. So.
times. Um, so one of the guys was a manager at a local restaurant that had a stage, and he talked to the owner into letting us come and do I think it was a weekly show. And he would just choose who to put on it from either the Virginia Tech Club or just people who had been around. There were no established open mics at that point in Blacksburg. There are some in Roanoke. So it was really just like, who's willing to get on stage to do this? And he would give us 10 minutes at a time, which for you non-comics out there, you really don't want to hear a new comic for more than 2 or 3 minutes. They're not funny. They're not ready.
Nope.
10 minutes is insane. So I had
Yep.
just started comedy and I was doing 10 minutes on stage. And
I mean, that is a good way to like get better fast. And getting way more
yeah,
practice on stage, but
yeah.
again,
Well, and I
it's
was more
a lot.
forgiving for how I had no concept though of what a big task that was. But like I said, it's with our scene, it was the same people at the same bar every week. So I I didn't want to tell the same stuff all the time. So I was always coming up with new material, new stories, trying to fill the 10 minutes. And then it nobody was listening, of course, because I was new and not funny. So this one week I was like, you know what? I'm just going to write a whole bit about how nobody listens and nobody's paying attention and why am I even up here? And I'm just going to throw in as many bad words and vulgar words. I'm just going to like scream out vulgarities so people will get I'll get their attention. They'll look at me and be like, "What's that lady talking about?" But they won't really listen. So usually on stage we're there in like the corner, we're on stage, we've got a great sound system, but there's people over there playing pool, there's TVs behind me and all around, all on. There are people looking past me intentionally to watch the game because that's why they're really there, so nobody's ever listening.
Yeah.
And then there's like the loud people at the bar who are just yelling at each other, because they're drunk and they're yelling. This is what I walk into every week. And so I come up with this one set, this 10 minutes, and I get up on stage and I take the microphone, and the whole place gets completely quiet. And they're all looking at me. And I'm just like, so isn't it crazy that nobody's listening? And
Oh man.
And then I just keep going into what I'd prepared because it's all I had. So I'm
Oh
yelling
god.
out like female body parts and vulgar sex acts. And then I just like totally dying on stage and just like looking at all these people who are just like totally into it. And I just start like screaming at them like, why are you listening to me? Why this week? Why now? Why now? After I just kind of lose it. I've got 10 minutes, so I'm just ranting at everybody for paying attention. It was
Man.
awful. I had nothing to pivot to. I had no concept of pivoting. So I just lost my mind on stage in front of everybody.
Well, but you went in. I mean, obviously, yeah, there's the panic and everything, but you went in thinking, no, nobody was going to listen, and then that one night they decided, oh, we're going to pay attention to the show. Oh
Like,
my god.
oh, keep playing. Click, click, clank, clank, go.
This set works better when you're not paying attention.
No, I just look absolutely deranged up there. And like I said, apparently this was memorable enough. This was years ago. This is memorable enough that my friend immediately came up with this.
He was like, this is the one
was
you
the
tell.
best night. Thank you.
That's why,
you, dear friend, for remembering and loving and holding that night in your heart where I thought I could just get up and say a JJ 5,000 times for 10 minutes.
And nobody would care because nobody'd be listening.
Oh, it was awful. It was awful.
Oh, yeah, those, and that kind of goes to that lesson we were talking, and this happens a lot in comedy. Comics take a gig that they're not ready for, and a lot of times it's the time, the time allowance.
Yes.
They'll be like, oh, I got a good 5 minutes. Why don't I do 15? And they'll just fill the other 10, and it just always goes bad. And it's the same thing. And that's why most open mics for comedy are like 3 to 5 minutes, because you can't.
We are helping.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
That is the host helping the newbie to just give them 5 minutes.
Yes. And even sometimes 5 minutes. It's funny because I host mics and shows still, and I'll have new comics come in and they'll be like, how much are we doing? And I'll tell them, and they're like, I can just see in their face, and I'm like, you don't have to do the whole time. I said, you have up to. That's what I always tell comics. I'm always like, you have up to in whatever we're doing that night, because a lot of the mics that we do, we're in a little bit of a smaller town. We're close to a big college town, but, I always give time depending on how many comics show up, but I always tell the comics, do what you can. You don't have to fill the whole time. If you only prepared 3 minutes, just do 3 minutes.
Oh, sure.
That's all that, you have up to. You don't have to fill it.
And in fact, if your story is 15 minutes long, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
Go figure out what the parts that are funny are, and just tell those parts and see if you can make it super short.
Edit.
Yeah. So, yeah. And it is amazing to come up with new stuff all the time. And if that's appropriate and that's something you want to do, great. But it's also okay to say the same jokes over and over again for a few months until you get them just right.
Exactly. You gotta polish that material.
Yeah, and the audience doesn't know this, and so maybe they'll say like, why is this person doing the same jokes again? But we comics know maybe you're working on your hand gestures, or you got tangled up in the microphone last time and you don't like those little tripod mic stands, but you need practice with trying to adjust a tripod mic stand. Maybe that's what you're doing at that open mic. Maybe you're just trying to make more eye contact with the audience members. Maybe you're trying to do a little crowd work, and that's new for you. The audience doesn't know what you're working on that day.
Nope, not at all.
It's your time on stage to practice what you're practicing.
Yeah, and I think it's important to to add to that you make sure you're doing you have a goal. I preach that on this podcast all the time. Like when you're and especially open mics, even if you're working on the same material, have a goal. Whether it's like you said, just getting used to using a tripod mic stand, or the way you stand or hold the cape, whatever it is, make sure you have some sort of a goal that you're trying to work towards.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it is your time on stage, and you need to make the most of it.
Yeah.
One of my biggest pet peeves in comedy, and I've even been guilty of this, but it's like when you get somebody up there and they run out of material and they're like, well, what do you want to talk about? Or so that I hate that phrase. I'm just like, no, you're wasting everybody's time now.
Yeah.
You weren't prepared.
You are actually working on crowd work, which is the whole crowd work. Oh no, that I've got a lot of opinions on crowd work.
I feel like based on your just reaction, our opinions are similar.
some people are amazing at it. If you ever get the chance to watch Winston Hodges do a crowd work
I
special,
oh yeah,
he
I
is
know Winston. He's great.
can weave he can weave so many people's lives together. But the reason he can do that is because he has a wide and varied background. So he understands other people and he
Mm-hmm.
knows how to put their stories together into one story. Most of us have a very linear life and we do not know as much about other people as we believe we do. Don't do don't do don't
Yeah, I'm a
do
yeah,
fake
I'm
crowd
like
work
I'm
where
one
you're
of
like,
these
what do you
people
do?
that
I don't care. We're gonna talk about my joke. But
yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of what I do. I mean, I have found that yeah, there are some people that are really good at crowd work, but a majority of comics aren't. I know they want to be good at it, and
yeah,
you do have to practice, but at the same time, you need to have good material because a lot of times good crowd work comes with having good material.
yeah,
Because a lot of good crowd work, the comic, and a lot of people who don't know anything about comedy aren't going to realize this, but a lot of they're weaving in and out of their material with the crowd work. They're
yeah,
usually falling back, or if the crowd work's not working, they'll fall back to the
right.
material. And you see so many newer comics, that want to do crowd work. They don't have the material, so they're like, you know,
Yes.
they're
They're
then when the crowd
floundering on
work,
stage with nothing to do.
yeah,
Yes.
when the crowd work doesn't work, they're like, well,
Yeah.
now what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Which
and
is that's kind of how I
didn't
was in that situation. I didn't I you the other thing I comics learn that you learn in open mics and in that situation, like my working memory is awful and it's only gotten worse. I've had COVID multiple times. I'm going through perimenopause. Like my working memory is not very good. So I really do kind of need to have like a decision tree. I need to either just follow my set that I've planned out. And yes, I use notes because otherwise I'm going to stand up there blanked out. I have to. It's just
mm-hmm.
the way my brain works now. But have a few options. Like if I can see the audience getting a little about some of my racier stuff, I can move to the clean stuff. Um, a lot people I uh admire can do that on the go. Trish Smart can go dark, dirty, clean, whatever the audience wants. She can switch to it. It's amazing. She's practiced a lot. I don't have the working memory for that, so I kind of have to have a plan. And I can have variations on that plan, but yeah, I don't know where I was going with that because I don't have notes on what I was about to say.
That's okay. That's okay. Uh, what was your? So, what would you think? After telling the story and thinking back on that set and everything, what would be? Excuse me. What would be your one takeaway that you looking back on that you're like, okay, this is something that I need to look at and do better at.
Have a plan, but be ready to go off of that plan. I had a plan and I wasn't ready with backup. Even though I had material in backup, I couldn't switch. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't have the stage skills to even like recognize what was happening and make the choice to switch over, which even that little tiny bit is something you have to practice. Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't working. I need to switch. What should I switch to? Oh, I'll switch to this. Those are all steps, and you're doing it in real time, and you don't want the audience to even see that you're thinking that. Boy, I was nowhere near being able to do those steps, but I do wish I'd have had some well practiced jokes in the chamber. So when I saw that it wasn't working, I could just switch over to a few that I knew worked and then just kind of do a reset at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway from that because I also think just comedy in general when we're up there, especially newer comics listening, it's good to have some extra material so that if you
yes.
need to deviate, if a joke isn't working, you have something else. Or because that's one of the biggest things I see. Like I've been doing this podcast a long time. I've talked to a lot of comics about it. I see a lot of live comedy, and one of the biggest triggers for a bomb is when a comic only has X amount of material and they have no backup, and then the crowd is just not into that set and they can't do anything but push forward.
Yeah. Oh, it's a it's a terrible feeling.
It
It's
is.
really it's really hard to overcome. It's really hard to exude confidence when in your mind you are recognizing that it's all falling apart. But the only way to save it is to act like, yeah, ha, I planned this. It's great that you guys don't get these jokes. Wait till you hear the next one. It's even worse.
Oh my god, that's
But
spot on.
yeah,
Oh man, I feel
but inside
it's
you're
like,
like shriveling into a teeny tiny little broken flower.
yep,
Like,
yep,
oh,
yep.
I don't like
Definitely been on both sides of that. Watched it happen, probably had it happening to me.
yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you do want to yell at the audience member, like, just shut the up so I could get this out. Stop
Yep.
interrupting me. And like, that's not my persona on stage, so I cannot break and scream at somebody. Um,
Well, and even when if you do, unless you do it, I mean, you have to really toe the line because of so it to be funny. Otherwise, you end up being mean, and then you lose everybody.
no,
You know,
nobody
and
wants
nobody
to
wants
pay to
that.
watch people be mean. I mean,
Exactly. No,
yes, they do.
exactly.
Not my audience.
Yeah.
There's a different type of comedy where people pay to watch people be mean.
Yeah.
That ain't
Exactly.
my people.
Yep.
So,
I
yeah.
feel that. I learned that this lesson with hecklers and going back to what you said, wanting to scream at them. Like I wanted to, but I knew I couldn't, and it would be unprofessional in that scenario. But I did my first cruise ship gig back in November over Thanksgiving weekend,
Oh,
and man, those crowds were rowdy. I was not expecting that.
oh, yeah, they have been
Uh,
drinking all
the
day.
other comedian told me though he said that this was kind of seemed a little unusual. He
Oh,
said he's had some rowdy crowds, but this was even rowdier than normal. And I
oh,
was just like, there was just one group of people that just kept interrupting the show all the time, and not just me, the other comic, and I guess the other comics that were on the cruise before we got there, they were interrupting the whole week or whatever. And man, I just wanted to like scream at them, and
yeah.
but I was just like, I'm just gonna
Well,
play
what did you
along.
do? What did you do?
I just kept, I mean, I addressed them because that was the biggest thing. It wasn't they
Yeah.
were heckling, but in a way where you could just tell they wanted to be the show. They wanted us to have to
Oh,
interact with them. So
oh,
like
that's tough.
it was
Mm.
either even you interact and then you go to do material, but then they wouldn't let you do your material because as soon as you do a punchline, they'd interrupt, and they
Yeah.
might not even interrupt. They might be just talking to each other or something or whatever it was.
Uh,
And the
so
worst
not
part was,
malicious.
yeah, well, some of it kind of wonder if it wasn't, but they
Yeah.
were sitting right up front. That was the other part. Like the group was like right in the front, and I was
Oh,
just like,
oh. And
oh.
they wanted crowd work like that. I
They
came
were
in.
trying to force it. Yeah,
They
they're
were
trying to
like,
force the crowd
"Oh, I've
work.
seen this on TikTok. If we
Yeah,
talk to him, he'll talk to us, and it'll be so funny, and we'll get on." Yeah, and really,
yeah,
it's just like, "Oh,
and
you
it
are
and
interrupting
it
my."
was very disappointing because as I'm on stage and this is happening and I'm being forced to interact with him and forced to do some of this crowd work. And I'll admit I'm not great at crowd work because I don't want to be a crowd work comedian.
Yeah.
I don't practice it. I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to
Well,
be
and
a
your
crowd
style
work
doesn't
comedian.
lend to crowd work. Your style is like, just sit back and sip your drink and listen. This is gonna be funny. You're gonna spit that drink out in a few seconds.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Um, and I could see people in the back of the showroom getting up and leaving because I know not fun for them either. They
Yeah.
want to see entertainment. It's not entertaining when you just see basically what turns out to it's just a conversation between a
Yeah.
group of people and a person on stage because that's essentially what it ended up being. Um, but then by the end of that show, I got him shut up because I got him laughing so hard at one of my
Good.
jokes, and I was like, "Thank God! Now
Yes.
I'm getting out of here."
Well, that's the other thing that I feel like comics understand is like you're up there doing your act, but you're also like the act is happening, and then you're also like, man, I got to get this crowd up there. Oh no, people back there aren't liking this. I got to do something to throw back to the back, pull them
Mm-hmm.
back in. Like all that stuff is happening
Yeah.
while you're doing your. I had a friend recently, I was talking to her. I was like, man, I'm ready to take the next level. I just need to record a lot more of my sets. And she said, oh, that must be so weird to just like sit in your room and record your sets. And I was like, what? No, like that wouldn't even be pot. That's not even what I'm doing when I'm on stage. I'm not. just saying my act. I'm having a conversation, not crowd work, but I'm having a conversation, an
Yep.
energetic conversation with everyone in the room. I'm bringing everybody together so we can have this shared experience in this exact moment together. And it's almost like you're orchestrating that because you know the rhythm of what's about to come out of your mouth. You know that, like, I know that my saggy boob joke is gonna get the lady over there with gray hair who probably didn't wear a bra today because it's uncomfortable, but my bidet joke is gonna get the millennials up in the corner who they don't know about menopause. They know about
Yep.
bidets though,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. You're exactly right. Yeah. People don't realize that there's a lot of things happening in our brains when we're on
Yeah.
stage, and you like you observe this stuff when you're up there too. Like,
Yeah.
and as a comedian, it's hard not to fixate, especially when you feel like you're doing bad. And when it's out a little bit out of your control, in my scenario there, I'm watching these people leave, and I know in my brain, I'm like, they don't like me. But also, I'm like, no, maybe it's not that they don't like me. It's that they don't like this show because I'm being forced to have this conversation. So like all these things are playing, but you're like, well, I don't know which, which one
Yeah.
it is, but I don't like that they're leaving regardless.
No, that does not feel good.
Because that means they're not having a good time
Right.
regardless of why.
Right. And for even the meanest, gruffest comedians I know really are in it because they like to make a room full of people have a good time.
Yep, they're there to
And that
entertain.
is what we're there for, is to help a group of people have fun. And
Absolutely.
if we're not doing that, that's a failure.
Absolutely. Well,
It's
this is a
really
good
bad.
place to start wrapping up.
Okay.
Where can people find you? Plug your
Um,
socials or anything you want to plug right
yeah,
now.
if you want to take a flight to Atlanta and then a little flight to Roanoke and then take a bus to Blacksburg, you can come see me in Blacksburg. I run an open mic every Thursday. It's open to everybody, especially new comics. I'll help you workshop afterwards. I will be helping. I just found out I'll be helping with the Roanoke Comedy Fest again this year.
The
We're
what comedy festival?
Roanoke Comedy
Roanoke. Oh,
Fest.
okay.
It's a
Roanoke. Okay.
curated comedy festival,
Nice.
um, along with Johnny Camacho and Taylor Reshka. We ran it last year really well. Johnny was running it on his own before that, and it's gotten bigger and better.
Is that
So,
based where you're at, or?
yeah, Roanoke, Virginia is the closest city, and
Oh,
so
okay. So that's in.
it's,
Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
that's what that. It's not the island. Nobody went missing in our Roanoke. Our Roanoke, everybody stays where they're supposed to be. Um, yeah, and I travel around Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, wherever anybody wants me to go and tell jokes. Gonna go up to Northern Virginia, which is the same state but a different state. Um, Northern Virginia is a whole new world. I'm going up there in February, and yeah,
That's always find that funny when people sometimes they'll ask when they find out I'm a comedian. They're like, "Oh, where do you go for comedy?" I'm like, "Anywhere they'll pay me." Honestly.
yes. If you thought I was funny today and you are willing to give me some money, just look me up on socials. I don't post a lot of my videos and stuff because I don't like doing that stuff. I
I
like
feel
to
that.
be real in real life. So come see me live if you want
All
to
right.
know what I'm talking about. It will be a good time. I promise that you will have fun. You will have a good time.
And I will just add to that. You will. I've seen her perform. She was fantastic when at the comedy festival that I saw you at live. So
It was a fun time.
yes, it
That
was.
was easy. You guys were Everybody was there like eager to have a good time. So that was really great.
Yes, it was. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. This was really fun.
This has been a Tape Deck Media production. Thank you for listening.